This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for this Tuesday, September 7th. I'm Mark Martin. Today, after Ida, President Biden to inspect the deadly devastation in the Northeast, where dozens of people were killed from the record rainfall and flash flooding from the remnants of the powerful hurricane. The Archbishop of San Francisco says it's the duty of church leaders to challenge Catholic politicians who support abortion rights. Worship leader Sean Foyt calling believers to come to Washington, D.C. on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 this Saturday for a national day of prayer. And Sadie Robertson Huff emphasizing to the young generation the need to embrace the reality of truth, God's truth. Those stories and more today on Newswatch. We begin with the devastation in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Today, President Biden will travel to the Northeast to the damage from the catastrophic flash flooding from the remnants of Ida. At least 50 people were killed in 6 eastern states as record rainfall overwhelmed rivers and sewer systems. Jenna Browder has that story.
As Ida's death toll continues to rise, the president will tour the damage in some of New York and New Jersey's hardest hit areas. The president approving disaster declarations in both states.
The major disaster declaration means individuals are now eligible for money in those counties.
This as we continue to see heartbreaking scenes like this. NYPD body cam footage showing officers diving into a flooded Queens apartment where a little boy and his parents died. In Louisiana, the National Guard is using floating bridges to reach cutoff areas. The city of New Orleans evacuating several long-term senior nursing facilities after residents were found living in the dark and sweltering heat, some trapped on upper floors. The mayor promising accountability after 5 residents died in privately run facilities.
What we found was unacceptable, and accountability will be across the board.
Right now, power has been restored to 2/3 of New Orleans, but other parts of the state could be in the dark for several more weeks. CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground in Houma, Louisiana, helping with cleanup and delivering much-needed supplies and meals.
Our volunteers have gone out to the field to clean up debris, muck and gut houses, put tarps on roofs, and even today we were able to go to the Houma, Louisiana Police Department and deliver 150 meals to a very hungry police department.
Reconstruction efforts are expected to take more time and cost more due to material delays caused by the pandemic. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
The Archbishop of San Francisco, Salvatore Cordileone, says that it's the duty of Catholic leaders to challenge Catholic politicians who support abortion rights. Writing in the Washington Post Sunday, he said, "You cannot be a good Catholic and support expanding a government-approved right to kill innocent human beings." He said the church was accused of injecting religion into politics when it discussed whether politicians who support abortion should receive the Eucharist. But he pointed out how one former New Orleans archbishop took an active role in civil rights, including ending segregations through his archdiocese, along with other actions. Cordileone is the Archbishop of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who is Catholic and supports abortion rights, as does President Biden, who is also Catholic. On Friday, speaking about the Texas abortion law, Biden says he doesn't believe life begins at conception.
I respect that. Don't agree, but I respect that.
The Catholic Church says that human life must be inspected and protected absolutely from the moment of conception. California Governor Gavin Newsom is holding the lead in the polls in next week's recall election. Still, the challenge to Newsom has been strong, and a black conservative is the Republican frontrunner. Dale Hurd brings us this look at the election that could give the state its first GOP governor in 15 years.
California voters have been mailed ballots asking them, shall Gavin Newsom be recalled, removed from the office of governor? They're then shown a list of candidates to succeed Newsom as governor and told to vote for one. And the front-runner to replace the governor? Conservative radio talk show host Larry Elder, who leads a crowded field of 46 challengers and has the support of many California evangelicals. Newsom supporters are portraying the recall as a far-right takeover attempt.
Who's behind the partisan recall of Governor Gavin Newsom? Anti-vaccine QAnon extremists, violent white supremacists like the Proud Boys who attacked our nation's capital on January 6th.
And Newsom warns Elder is...
He's to the right of Donald Trump. To the right of Donald Trump. That's what's at stake in this election. And don't think for a second you can't do damage in that role.
Elder is pro-life, against more gun restrictions, says the minimum wage should be $0, and has vowed to repeal the statewide COVID mandates.
At the state level, I'm not going to require any kind of public worker to wear a mask or any kind of public worker to have a vaccine. I think that's an assault on freedom.
Elder accuses Newsom of wrecking a once great state.
It's about the rising crime, the rising homelessness, the rising cost of living, the outrageous way this man ignored science, shut down this state, while having his own kids enjoy in-person private education.
Most polls show Newsom leading, but experts warn that Californians who want Newsom removed might be more motivated to vote than those who want Newsom to stay. Californians will also be able to vote in person, and Democrats now face the possibility of losing another high-profile governorship after the resignation of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. But there could be even more at stake. There are reports that 88-year-old California Senator Dianne Feinstein is struggling with cognitive decline and could be facing early retirement. It is the governor of California who would choose Feinstein's replacement. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
A lawsuit has been filed asking the California Department of Education to withdraw an Aztec prayer from a new school curriculum. The State Department of Education passed a curriculum that includes a prayer to Aztec gods as part of an ethnic studies curriculum. The curriculum includes chants that address specific Aztec gods by name and calls on them for help. An attorney with the Thomas More Society, which filed the suit, said the Aztecs regularly performed gruesome and horrific acts for the sole purpose of pacifying and appeasing the very beings that the prayers from the curriculum invoke. Those horrible acts included human sacrifice, cannibalism, and other atrocities. The curriculum also includes chants and a prayer from another pagan religion with links to voodoo and Santeria. The suit was filed on behalf of the Californians for Equal Rights Foundation and individual taxpayers and parents of school children. A Virginia school teacher fired for refusing to call a transgender student by a male pronoun is taking his case to the Virginia Supreme Court. A circuit court turned down Peter Vlaming's appeal. The West Point School Board dismissed him in 2019 when he objected to calling a ninth grader who'd been born female and transitioned to male by the new preferred pronoun he. Vlaming's attorneys say no one should be forced to contradict their core beliefs to keep their job. Vlaming said he could not, in good conscience, based on his Christian faith, call the girl a boy. Coming up, what is the mysterious illness that's been hitting American spies and diplomats around the world? It causes multiple symptoms like headaches, insomnia, and more. We'll hear why the U.S. intelligence community believes it's actually an attack from a major foreign power when we come back.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
you'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
It sounds like something from a science fiction movie, but it's all too real. A mysterious illness has been attacking Americans with nausea, severe headaches, ringing in the ears, and insomnia. It's called Havana syndrome, and it has struck dozens of our spies and diplomats around the world. The latest strike happened in Hanoi just hours before Vice President Harris was scheduled to land in Vietnam. So who's behind what some are calling microwave radiation attacks? George Thomas tells us what intelligence professionals are saying.
It was the early morning hours of December 5th, 2017. Mark Polymeropoulos was in his room at the Marriott Hotel close to the U.S. Embassy in downtown Moscow when suddenly he started to feel very ill.
And I woke up with incredible vertigo. The room was spinning. I had tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. I was nauseous. I felt like I was going to be sick.
Polymeropoulos, a 26-year CIA veteran and decorated covert agent, spent most of his career hunting down Islamic terrorists in the Middle East, Europe, and Asia. He'd been shot at, narrowly escaped rocket fire, and was often in the middle of many other extremely dangerous situations. But nothing, he says, compares to what he experienced that day in Moscow.
And I spent a lot of time in some really tough places in our war zones. This was the most terrifying experience of my life, basically because of the unknown, but something really, really bad happened to me that day.
In the months ahead, he would come to realize that he had suffered from a mysterious microwave radiation attack.
It's a weapon that is silent. There is very little kind of signature of it, but it's designed to incapacitate, not to kill. And it's a pretty insidious type of warfare that we see being used against our personnel.
The first reported microwave attack happening in Cuba in 2016, affecting some 24 American and Canadian diplomats. It has since come to be known as Havana syndrome. Victims experience, among other symptoms, nausea, severe headaches, ear ringing, loss of balance, and insomnia. James Lin, one of the leading experts on the biological impact of microwave attacks, described to CBN News what happens when a pulse blast hits a person.
That microwave pulse will be able to produce a sound wave inside the head of a person. And that sound wave will start propagating inside the head and reverberates inside the head. If any tissue damage is going to happen, I believe will come from the reverberation of the sound wave that's been generated inside the brain tissue.
Lin says assembling and transporting such a weapon is fairly easy.
It's not going to be enormous in size. I think the size of it could be a full-size car trunk or in a van or SUV.
In the 5 years since that initial attack in Havana, some 200 American diplomats, intelligence, and military officers across multiple continents have been hit by these mysterious symptoms. The Wall Street Journal reporting that in one recent attack in a European capital, a diplomat suffered a brain injury similar to those who had been exposed to shock waves from explosions. Investigators are also looking into 2 attacks that may have occurred on U.S. soil, one reportedly happening close to the White House. Researchers with the National Academy of Sciences said many of the neurological symptoms were consistent with the effects of directed pulsed radio frequency energy.
At first, we thought it was a fluke, but now it looks like it was more premeditated.
The CIA has tapped a veteran agent who helped track down Osama bin Laden to find the source of the microwave attacks.
I said in my confirmation hearing before the Senate that I would make this a very high priority to ensure that my colleagues get the care that they deserve and that we get to the bottom of what caused these incidents and who was responsible.
The CIA hasn't publicly said who it believes is behind the attacks, but Polymeropoulos has his suspicions.
Who do you hold responsible for carrying out this attack against you?
Look, I think that the conventional wisdom now, and it's taken some time to reach this conclusion, but within the intelligence community, certainly within, the operational elements at CIA, is that the Russians are behind this.
Moscow has denied any involvement. Meanwhile, Senator Susan Collins, along with 14 other Republican and Democratic lawmakers, have introduced the Havana Act.
Our bill would provide assistance to the employees of the intelligence community and other federal agencies who have suffered from traumatic brain injuries at the hands of our foreign adversaries.
Polymeropoulos welcomes the financial and medical help and says what has happened to him and other American diplomats is an act of war. His illness was so bad that it forced him to quit the CIA.
It's still something that really incapacitated me, and I feel the effects to this day.
Retiring in 2019 and now writing about his experience, Polymeropoulos is the author of the new book, Clarity in Crisis, where he emphasizes, among other leadership virtues, the importance of humility, something he says he learned about firsthand these past 4 years.
I look I go down to our basement where I have all my intelligence medals, and there's multiple copies of the front page of the New York Times based on operations that I ran around the world that no one will ever know about. That's when I was on top of the world. And now, I have a headache that never goes away and some serious long-term effects. And so, humility is, I think, a really good trait to have.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Still ahead, worship leader Sean Foyt is calling Christians to travel to Washington, D.C. this Saturday on the anniversary of 9/11 to pray for America. We'll hear why he says it was a miracle they were able to get that date for the event in D.C. right after this.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears. Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Sean Foyt of the Let Us Worship Tour is calling all believers to the nation's capital on September 11th this Saturday for a national day of prayer. CBN's Wendy Griffith recently spoke with him about the event and why he says it was a miracle that they got the 9/11 date.
Sean Foyt joins us by Skype from California. Sean, it's great to have you on the show.
Oh, so honored to be with you guys again. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about this big prayer event going on 9/11 on the nation's capital. It's called the Day of Prayer for America. It's the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and the day none of us will ever forget. Why this day? Why 9/11?
Well, it's wild, actually. I didn't want this day. When I asked with the National Park Service for a permit, just like we did last year, we had about 40,000 with this last year on the mall. I wanted a date in October. And they came back to me and they said, actually, we can't give you a date in October or August. The only dates we have available are September 11th and 12th. And I knew in that moment this was a total God setup.
Sean, your team has been praying for the stranded Americans and Afghans in Afghanistan. You even raised over $100,000 for the church in Afghanistan. Now that the Taliban and in many ways ISIS are in control there, what hope is there for those still trapped and for the underground church in Afghanistan?
Well, I carry a very positive, hopeful perspective on this situation, just like Iran in the late 80s when the Ayatollah took over, or with ISIS in Iraq, just a few years ago. Every time this demonic, evil Sharia law, intense Islam rears its ugly head, people flee. People that are nominal Muslims, people that don't understand the intensity of Sharia law, they end up running, and the church always explodes. It grows like crazy. And I believe what we've seen in Iran in the late 80s, what we saw in Iraq with the explosion of the underground church, we're going to see the exact same thing happen today in Afghanistan. In fact, we're already hearing reports that the church is starting to grow at incredible rates. Even the persecution, the gates of hell will not prevail against the Church of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Well, Sean, you and your team have been on the road for over a year now with the Let Us Worship Tour. From what you've seen, is revival coming to America?
I don't believe it's just coming. I believe it's here. I believe we are in a moment of divine destiny from heaven. People are hungrier than they've ever been before. People are more desperate for heaven's solution than they've ever been. We've been to over 132 cities across America, probably the top most 50 populous cities in America. We've been to all of them. Thousands of people are gathering. People are getting saved, healed, delivered. In fact, today, we released a brand new album that we captured in a 12-day revival in West Palm Beach, Florida. But we are in the middle of revival. It's not coming. We're not hoping for it. I believe it's already here.
Wow. Well, Sean, you've been doing this during a pandemic. You've received a lot of pushback and even death threats. What keeps you going forward and not backing down?
Well, I just think anytime you're going after something of the kingdom, you're going to get resistance. And so I've just begun to realize that resistance almost proves that what you're doing is something in the heart of God. I mean, nobody in revival history or in the Bible that tried to do anything great for God didn't experience some form of intense resistance. We have to keep going until we see every promise of God fulfilled over our nation and the nations in this season.
So back to the 9/11 prayer event, I think you mentioned that former President Trump may make an appearance, at least on video, to address the group.
Yeah, I just feel like we are in the middle of a leadership crisis in America. I think everyone would understand that. And I think having the former president give an address where he calls America to pray, he calls us to we're going to honor, obviously, the fallen. We're going to honor the military, which I don't feel like has been done in a great way from this current administration. And so we need somebody of that caliber, of that level, to call America to pray, but also give us some reassurance, that we're not in this thing alone, that we have people that are with us.
Sean Foyt with Let Us Worship, thank you so much for your time and being with us today. God bless you.
God bless you guys, too. Thank you.
And you can see more powerful spiritual stories on the prayer link. It's tonight at 6:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel, or you can find it on the CBN News app. Coming up, Sadie Robertson Huff speaking to her generation about the importance and reality of objective truth and what Jesus had to say about it. We'll hear what she has to say when we come back. Stay with us.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Sadie Robertson Huff shared a message about the reality of truth, including God's truth, during the LO Sister Conference last week. The 24-year-old said her generation is struggling with the concept of truth because so many believe they have their own truth. But she said Jesus made clear what truth actually is.
Jesus said, the truth will set you free. But how did he say that's going to happen? If you abide in my word. You see, we have to have a standard for truth. And you might say, well, Sadie, this is kind of an unfair conversation because isn't that just your truth, that the Bible is real? Well, it's not even my truth. Jesus literally claims to be the truth. He says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one gets to the Father except through me.
Amen. Well, you can read more of how Sadie explained the need for truth and watch the entire video on cbnnews.com. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen, and you can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.